is on. The hard part's over. The screaming is over. She doesn't really like the cast. I thought it was gonna be prettier than that, to be honest. Now we wait for the doctor. Okay, cast is on. I'm getting chilly, so I put this little jacket that I was able to find. Kiddo has cast on now. A lot of crying. Are we finished crying now? Okay. If you can do it. Okay. So we're in the car. Let me turn the air down in case it's too loud for now. We're in the car. It is midday now. I came. They still could not tell me how much the cost was going to be. And that was very upsetting for me because I'm like, these are the same figures I was given earlier. I'm being told that this amount here does not include the cask. I see one amount for $3,000 something and there's an amount above for $1,600 and about $18 or $1,614. And then there's another bundle package that I'm told that still doesn't have the cast in it. So I'm like, so how much for the cast? I need to know what I'm paid for so I know what I'm doing. Like, I can't just pick a bundle and I don't know what's what. Okay, so is this for the treatment? This thousand something dollars or this $3,000 is to come to the hospital? Whereas if this is for the visit, how much for the treatment? So I was getting a little irritated. The nice lady at the front, she gave me the phone number for billing. And I said, listen, I'm just going to pay for the bundle and we just gonna have to figure out the cast later because we need the cast. That's why we're here. I'm gonna just pay for it and we're gonna figure it out. This video is not sponsored by a firm. A firm don't even know me personally, content creation wise. So a big shout out to a firm because I requested a card for $1,800 because the price I'd seen on there was $16. So I'm like, let me request for the $1,800. So we still have a little bit left over because I don't know taxes, all that stuff. I know taxes shouldn't be that outrageous, but I wanted that cushion. When she charged the card, it went through. I was like, oh, thank God. Right? Because I know you can't use a firm for every single thing. Certain things, like I tried to use a firm to pay for my electric bill before. It declined. So I wasn't sure if it was going to work for this hospital bill because even when I looked up the hospital, it didn't show. It just, as usual, it says request a virtual card, but you won't know if it's going to work until you actually try to charge the card. So it went through. I was like, yes, thank God. But she charged me 1,400. Ignore the lip gloss or the lipstick because just ignore it. She charged me 1,400 and something. I'm like, that's less than the amount that's here because I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna come back later and tell me some owe you because you never charged a full amount. Like, this is 1,414. This says 1,006 something. She's like, oh, that's not the packet. That's not the bundle. So I'm like, so then what was this? That was still the payment options because for the 3,000 something it was giving, it was saying you had to pay 25%, which was going to be $825. And then I still wasn't really understanding what this 1,600 at the top was. So I'm like, I was just going to pay the 1,600 and figure the rest out later, only to find out the bundle is practically 1,400. So while I was talking to her, I was still waiting on the phone with billing. I'm on hold for billing to find out, hey, how much is this cast gonna be? 1 second, sweetie. How much is this cast gonna be? Right, I finally get them on the line. I gave her the card. I paid for it. She just paid for it. And then they're letting me know, hey, oh, you have the option of paying for the bundle. I'm like, yeah, that's what I like to do. They're like, okay, that's gonna be 1,400 and something, and that includes the cast. I'm like, are you sure? Because they said it didn't include the cast. Like, oh yeah, that includes the cast. So I'm like, okay, great. That's all I needed to know then, because I was trying to figure out what I was paying for. Give me a second, sweetie. What is it?
My tablet.
It did?
No, it's not on Wi-Fi yet.
Because we don't have Wi-Fi here. I told you the Wi-Fi was in the hospital.
What in the hospital?
They had hot Wi-Fi. We don't have Wi-Fi. You can only play your games until we get home.
Never mind, my tablet's working again.
Because we're still here. Once I drive off, it's gonna stop working. All right. So we paid for it, and she was saying to someone else, like, "Oh, my screen right here says the cast is not included." Well, guess what? Billing just said that it's included. We just got chart. We just paid the 14 something. We just gonna have to see later on if they come back and say, "Oop, gotcha." That $1,400 is just for the visit. We don't know yet. We're under the guise right now that this visit is paid for. We don't have the bill from the ER yet, from when the school sent her up to the children's Phoenix for that first treatment. I pray that the Kentucky insurance that we had covers that, or majority of that, and leaves me little to nothing to pay, because that bill, I don't even want to see that bill. So I'm glad to know that this $1,400 I paid for right now, this covers us. We're good for right now. The payment plan I have is gonna be $100 and something dollars. I'd have to go back and check to see if it's a month or every 2 weeks. But that's what I love with Affirm. Like, buy now, pay later. Still be careful. Still be careful with that shit, right? I use it for groceries. I use it for a lot of my shopping. I use it for clothes shopping, food shopping, whatever kind of thing I need, and I don't have the immediate funds for it. Or I have the money, but I have other things that keep popping up. So I'm like, let's keep the immediate money for this. Like certain bills, we're gonna keep the money for these bills because I don't like when my bills don't pay. And we're gonna use Affirm to pay for this, because Affirm, we take a look at $20, a little $50 right here. So while this thing right here wants the full 200, 300. So once I pay this full 200, 300 right here, so cool, I know that the next paycheck that is coming now, I can give Affirm to either pay off a big lump sum off of the money that I just borrow from them, or at least half of it. And I don't always have my things. If it's no interest, then I'll just let it stay there and take the payments little by little. If there's interest, then obviously I pay it off faster, because I'm not about to pay you a whole bunch of money in interest. So as much as I'm here talking about, oh, this money that they just lent me, yes, there is interest on this. The interest is very high, but at the same time, I don't intend to pay this off. I don't intend to do this for a whole year. I'm gonna pay it off before the year. And on top of that, I requested 1,800. They actually only charged 1,400, so some of that is gonna get refunded, which is gonna cost the amount due to be a lot lower, or a little bit lower. And as such, not too much. Now, when you see the interest and the percentage, you're like, oh my god, that percentage is high. But when you look at the dollar amount, it's just an extra $10 here, or an extra $10 on the payments, practically. So I'm like, I would have spent that $10 on something else. At least this is helping me majorly. So do it this as with this information as you may. If you have decent-ish, yes, sweetie.
My calf is tough as a rock.
Yes, it's supposed to be hard.
Why?
To make sure that your arm heals properly. Okay, so again, take this information and do with it as you will. Use Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay responsibly. Responsibly. Because they sometimes, depending on what your credit score is and what your history is with them, they just be like giving you money. And you think that, oh, all I have is $5,000. Nah, it says you have 5,000 here and you still have 2,000 here to spend. If I'm not careful, I could dig myself in a big ass hole with Affirm. They're the same ones that I used to pay for Leonard's eye surgery, at least a portion of Leonard's eye surgery. Right? I'm almost done paying that off. And then just as I'm close, halfway there to paying that off, because that was another 2,000. Just as I'm almost done paying that off, here's another $1,500 bill. But yeah, I am just so happy. At least now, and I can talk about it and not cry, because initially when I saw that it went through, and I wanted to talk about it, try to film, my eyes are all teary. So at least you're not doing that little waterworks thing right now. We're good, and we're going to head home. I already called work, already keeping my supervisor up to date. And she says I can clock in if I want when I get home. I figured that I'd be home by 2, 3. And that's really the case, because it's midday now. The drive, depending on if there's any traffic, I'm going to be home closer to the 2 o'clock mark. So I can just instead clean, do some things around the house that need to get done, sort some stuff out, and yeah.
That's looking at the bed.
You like it? Great. Oh, let me not show you my card. I'm gonna have to blur that out. So,
Mama, look, they're having a meeting. Like there.
service is a little slow when it came to getting the check. I don't know where everybody went, but the food is good as usual. So we came back here. The food is always good whenever I come. Just make sure you cover it with your little sauce. And we're going back to the car now. Little Miss did get her cast today. We're gonna head back home. I'm coming. Heading back home. I need a freaking nap.
Then I forgot where